of UKIP, and I'm sure he's going to say what he feels. Nigel, welcome to the home of free speech.
Good morning.
Sun Talk. Welcome to you. You must be looking forward to the European elections.
Very much so. We've got 37 days to go to the first national election we've had in this country for 4 years, and all the signs are that the great British public do not want to be part of this political union. They don't want to shell out 40 million quid a day to an organisation whose accounts have not been signed off by the auditors for 14 years. They don't want 75% of our laws made there, and they do not want us to have complete open borders to the whole of Eastern Europe. So,
yeah, but they also might not want UKIP, because now we've got William Hague and the Tory party.
Please.
Have you finished, please? They might say we can vote Tory. They've promised a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty. They are going to pull out. Why do they need to vote for UKIP?
John, please. They have not promised a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty. What William Hague has done is to firmly establish the Conservatives' position sitting on the fence. They've said they'll have a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty if it hasn't been ratified, but if the Irish have voted yes in a second referendum, the Tories won't have that referendum. If the Tories genuinely believed in the independence of this country, they would say, just as I'm saying, that they refuse to accept the legitimacy of something that was passed against a manifesto commitment. They won't do it.
All the pundits say that the Tories will probably have over 50 MEPs. We may even see the spectre of the BNP getting seats as well. If that happens, that pincer movement happens, Mr Farage, you will be more marginalised than you are at the moment. Answer that.
I think you're a bit out of touch, John. If you look at the polls, over the last 5 to 10 days, you will see what they're indicating is that the UKIP vote is now neck and neck with the Labour vote. Last time round, I'll remind you, nearly 3 million people voted for UKIP, something that has never happened to a fourth party in British politics.
Fair point, fair point.
We beat the Liberal Democrats nationally, and we beat Labour in over half the country. I think we've got a possibility here of UKIP coming second, beating the Lib Dems again, beating Labour, and I tell you what, if UKIP beat Labour, it'll be the end of Gordon Brown. So there's a lot to fight for in the next few days.
How many seats do you predict you'll get, or how many votes do you predict you'll get?
Well, I tell you this, all the opinion polls now show that what UKIP stands for is a majority position in this country. There are millions more people out there that agree with us than agreed with us in 2004.
They agree with you on that issue. They think you're a one-issue party, though. Well, that's the problem.
It's a one-issue election, John. It's a European election. We're not voting about schools. We're not voting about hospitals. We're voting about immigration from Europe. We're voting about the cost of Europe. We're voting about the fact that none of these parties ever want to give us a referendum. That's what it's about.
That's Nigel Farage. He's the leader of UKIP. You've got a question for him or a comment? Pick up the phone and give us a call. Let's get to those callers. This is Sun Talk. Don't forget the number. 02. Write it down next to your phone as well. 020 334 7000. Because we're the home of free speech and we're the Sun, we're only charging a normal rate on the phone calls. Remember that. You're not getting ripped off like certain stations. The text does cost you 50p plus your sending charge. That's 87131. But the email's completely free. You can contribute. You can get involved any way you fancy. Gaunty@suntalk.co.uk. Michael's in Cambridge. First caller through to Nigel Farage. Good morning, Michael.
Hello, Gaunty. How you doing, mate?
I am fabulous. What do you want to say to Nigel Farage, leader of UKIP?
Well, I mean, Nigel, for me, is absolutely brilliant. He leads a party that single-handedly, Gaunty, you look at the opinion polls, you get 55% of people, when they get out of the European Union, there is only one show in town. The Conservative parties, yeah, they talk about the European issue now. What a surprise in the run-up to the election. They will not deliver, they cannot be trusted, and I'm sorry, but anybody that's taken in by William Hague and David Cameron's lip service to the issue, really they cannot have been following things for very long.
It's
got to be UKIP in June, it has to be.
OK, UKIP in June, what would it be in the general election, be honest?
I'll be UKIP.
UKIP again?
Why is the point of voting Conservative or Labour to get the other rosette out when 75 to 80% of our laws are made somewhere else? Okay. It's irrelevant.
Nigel, is he related to you? Were you separated at birth?
Michael, I have little to add. You're absolutely right. What colour rosette walks into number 10 next May or June is becoming increasingly irrelevant because we've given away the ability to govern most of our lives. It is absolute madness. But, of course, this is an issue that Labour, Lib Dems and Tories don't really want to talk about. As you say, they'll pay lip service to it. There's an election coming up, so the Tories pretend they're Eurosceptic. I've sat for 10 years in the European Parliament watching Tory MEPs voting for open borders, voting for thousands of EU regulations.
Yeah, but why? You've been sitting there, you've been taking all the X's as well, haven't you?
Well, I've been taking the
For something
X's,
that you hate.
and I've been using them to go around the United Kingdom, John. No MEP has spoken at more public meetings or visited more schools around this country than I've done in the last 10 years, and I hope I've helped to contribute to the fact that we've now got a majority of British people that agree we shouldn't be part of this.
OK, Peter on the Isle of Wight. You're through to Nigel Farage. What do you want to say, my friend?
Good morning, John. Thank God you're back. You're giving the people a public voice, which is what we crave.
Well, it's me and the Sun newspaper. Let's not forget this was an initiative by the Sun.
I've got a point for Nigel, which I don't think he's particularly going to like. I was a paid-up member of UKIP for a number of years. I actually spoke on the same platform as himself when he came to the Isle of Wight at the 1997 general election. And Nigel's a nice enough chap, but I've got to ask, what has UKIP actually achieved? You've got 12 MEPs as far as I know. Is that figure correct? Still 12?
Peter, for the first time...
No,
answer the question, Nigel.
please.
Yeah, we had 12 elected.
12, right, you've got 12 MEPs elected to the to the European Parliament. I can't see that you've actually achieved a damn thing towards getting the straitjacket that is the European Union off our country's back.
OK, let him answer that. That's a big charge. Let him answer.
Peter, I've just explained to you, when we founded UKIP, even when I was first elected back in 1999, the view that we should not be in political union with Europe could be described then as a minority sport. It is now a majority, and we have been the only people in this country articulating that message. I believe without us, that wouldn't have happened. The second point is that for the first time in the history of the European Parliament, there has been an opposition group in that Parliament. I've had the privilege of leading that opposition group in the last 5 years, and we made a major contribution to the no vote in France and to the no vote in Ireland. I think we've achieved far more in terms of standing up for British interests and making people aware of how Europe impacts upon their lives than anybody else has ever done.
Why did you leave UKIP, Peter?
I cease to believe in them. I don't think that UKIP is serious at getting us out of the European Union at all. I think they've become part of the establishment. I think it's all, these 12 MEPs are all about getting their feet under the table and enjoying the champagne lifestyle.
Let Nigel answer
Peter,
that.
I worked in the city for 20 years. I've lived a champagne lifestyle since I was 19 years old. I have taken a massive, massive salary cut to be an MEP. I can't wait for Britain to be independent, for me to resign my seat, get back to the city and not have to worry about politics. But I'm not going to pack it up until we win.
But that goes back to what I said before. You are just a one-issue party. Because you actually stated it there categorically. You're not a serious politician.
I stated categorically that I am in this, above all, to win back the independence of this country. Something, John, that those who went before us in the last century twice had to risk everything to defend. That's what this is about. Now, of course, I've got views on education, on the NHS and all of those things, but they are as nothing compared to the question of are we able to govern our own country?
So if you were to win, if you were to get to a situation where we came out of Europe, UKIP would collapse. Would it? That be the end of UKIP? You have no serious ambition to run the country. What are you telling me?
I don't think it would, because we've got a bigger agenda, which is we want less government in our lives, more freedom of the individual, more democracy. We want referendums brought in on local issues and national issues. But personally, my main objective is to get the independence of this country back. It matters that much to me.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Let's go on to some text messages. To me, UKIP have been an epic failure, says Paul. I had high hopes that they would be a UK nationalist party for all the citizens of the United Kingdom and therefore marginalise the BNP even more. Sadly, they don't appear to have achieved anything. They haven't caught the public imagination. They haven't run any effective campaign about any subject. And worst of all, they probably poll fewer votes than the BNP. Mr Farage should be embarrassed that he and his party have squandered a golden opportunity to become a legitimate fourth party. Paul on the email.
Well, if he wants to have a bet with me about the election result, UKIP versus the BNP, then please get in touch and we'll have whatever bet you like. Listen, we are fighting a big, professional, fully funded campaign for these European elections. All over Britain, in our big cities, you'll see big UKIP billboards that are up there at the moment. The indications are we're neck and neck with the Labour Party in the polls. We are doing very well, and we're winning the argument.
Tell me why somebody shouldn't vote for the BNP in June.
Well, I don't think that I would ever want to vote for the BNP, because whilst you may agree with some of the things they say about open-door immigration and the effect that it's had on Britain, they are, without any shadow of a doubt, John, a party that is dominated by a racist agenda. You know, Article 2 of their own constitution forbids black people from even being members of the BNP. In UKIP, I mean, take that shopkeeper from Nottingham, the postmaster, Diva Kumarasi.
Yeah, we had him on the show last
Right.
week on St George's Day,
Well, he is now a UKIP candidate. He's standing for us, and we've got several black and Asian candidates that are standing on our list. We are patriotic. We believe in fierce immigration controls in deciding who should come and live in this country, but we'll do so on a non-racist basis. And the other point I would make about the BNP, there have been too many people in the upper echelons of that really have got quite unpleasant, violent records. To find out more about who we are and what we stand for, go to the UK Independence Party website at www.ukip.org.